Passover and Easter are usually two reasons for families to come together this time of year, but these days that is a tough call, even tougher for America's elderly, a demographic sadly well attuned to social isolation. Let's talk about it with Mark Meridy. He's the executive director of the nonprofit DeRote, up late with me on the Final Five. Mark, good to see you tonight.
Good to see you this evening as well.
You know, I came to the realization, I think last night it really sunk in. We celebrate Easter, my family. I will not be with my family this Easter. We will not be together. Obviously, we're trying to keep our distance. My parents are both older. But the reality is for people, for a lot of Americans, you know, this is just a time of privacy, a time of isolation, a time of loneliness.
It is. And it really, the COVID-19 has had devastating has had devastating consequences to people across the country. We know that social isolation and loneliness is a serious public health problem. And even before this, older adults are highly susceptible to social isolation and loneliness. There was a recent study that showed that 43% of older adults report feeling lonely. And now imagine during these holidays of Passover and Easter, we're not going to be able to get together with our older friends and neighbors and relatives.
So when you talk about it being a public health crisis, how does that factor into the whole equation right now? Because we talk obviously so much about COVID-19 right now, but how does this figure into that conversation?
Sure. So there was a study that was published that showed that social isolation and loneliness can lead to increased levels of high blood pressure, early onset of dementia, and in fact, it is the same as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
And so we know that loneliness can really have a terrible effect on people, and now it's being even more exacerbated by the virus.
Tell me about your organization, DeRote, and what you do and how you really work to encourage generations to reach across a technological divide.
Sure. So our mission is to address the issue of social isolation and loneliness. For 45 years, we've been bringing the generations together, where we engage over 6,000 volunteers a year to provide services to older adults in the community. They do so by going into the homes and visiting with seniors, as well as providing technical training so that people can use their smartphones and their iPads and other technical devices so that older adults can stay connected to their family and to their friends.
Go for it.
So it's just, so we have been providing these services really for all of this time to bring the generations together. And it's really sad, and it really, at the start of this virus, it was a very difficult decision to have to tell our volunteers that they could no longer go into the homes of the seniors that they were visiting with. But we saw the devastating effects that this virus has. We know that 8 out of 10 deaths in the United States from COVID-19 have been of older adults 65 and over.
Right.
And the fatality rate of people who are 85 and over is 30%. So at this time of Easter and Passover, we've been saying staying away is staying alive.
Yeah.
And it's a really tough message for an organization like ours, which has been all about bringing the generations together all these years.
Yeah, and I think, too, it's a good reminder that regardless if you can't visit family, you know, pick up the phone or I'll tell you what's amazing. And, Mark, before I let you go, I mean, we talk about technology, and I put it this way. My father had a stroke about 8 years ago, and I realized the only way that I could communicate with him effectively was to give him an iPhone and teach him how to use FaceTime. And I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, this is going to be, you know, this is going to be tough. It was the easiest thing to do. Now I can't get him to stop FaceTiming me, which I think's a good thing. But
you're right, it is. But if people are interested, on our website, DeRoteUSA.org, we have guides for people to be able to use FaceTime and Zoom and other ways to connect with their older friends and neighbors.
That's great.
Easy guides that they can work with the seniors to help them to stay connected during this holiday season. But it's really important that social distancing be from a far distance, and really encourage people to call their friends and relatives, but not to get too close to the seniors.
It's a tough compromise to make, but you know what? If I can get a few more healthy years with my parents in, I think, and same with our viewers tonight. Mark Meridy, I appreciate it. DeRoteUSA.org. We'll tweet out the link, and we're back after this in the Final Five.